Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Presented by Carolina Lakeway. Come grip with us. When the action begins in the studio, our referees for tonight's event are Elgato Azul and Carolina Real Streamers. For the viewers in attendance and Facebook and YouTube users around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from the Elgato Azul TV studio in Louisville, Texas, it's time! What's up, slime lovers? Welcome to the Slime Show, baby. I'm your host, Chris, a.k.a. Elgato Azul, my partner in slime, Mr. Jamie Dunn, Carolina Lakeweights. Over the top of him is Matt Bredfeldt. Tonight, we're going to be discussing winter tactics and tips. So, how are you boys doing?
Great,
doing
man.
Good, brother. Glad to be back.
Everybody have a good Thanksgiving?
Man, I had too much turkey.
Same. It was good, though.
Good.
Yeah.
Looks like we got a pretty good crowd starting out in here. Let's run through here, boys. We got Shitty Fisherman's in the house. Says, what's up, fellas? We got Lewis Parker. Welcome in. Off the Hook Outdoors. Welcome in, Ted. We got Vest Cooks. Mr. F These Fish. Leland Lloyd. Uh-oh, we lost Matt. He's out of here. I guess he don't like Vest. Leland Lloyd, he's fishing with me Friday. Hopefully we can get on some biggins. Looking forward to it, buddy. We got Dustin Clark. And Matt is back.
Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.
So, man, I'm glad to be back. We had a little break. Jamie, y'all got
I'm glad to be back, man. We caught a lot of fish on break. We took little man Trent out. We had a heck of a night. Rebecca got back out there. She's been tearing them up. And we're back in the shop.
I had some fun.
We did, man. We did.
Do some fishing on your break?
Oh man, much as I can. We had a pretty good run for a couple weeks there. We had a pretty good run of it. We got through quite a few personal best flatheads in the boat, and
we did pretty good. And
yes, sir.
My hands show it.
I got to play netman for a lot of fish in the last couple weeks. A lot of personal best flatheads and.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
we got a few decent blues.
I had a birthday trip over the holiday, 2 14-year-old twins. Got them both PBs. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun trip. Those PB trips are always fun, especially, man, birthday trip, 2 twins. Epic.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
Chris Thompson, a.k.a. Santa Claus, Hooks and Hammocks. Chris, what's up, bro? Shane Kinsworthy, that's your fishing partner.
That's my dude.
What's up, Shane? West Texas Cat Addict, welcome. Donate Life Catfishing, Mr. Terry Woodrow. He got him a PB. Man, it's the PB weekend for a lot of guys. Greg Mays, what's up, Greg? Catfish Junkie says, what's up, Matt?
What up?
He don't want to say hello to us. And Shitty Fisherman said the lake kicked his ass that day, trying to drift 5 miles per hour. LMAO. Yep, 5 miles an hour. I saw how fast you were going. I'm like, yeah, he might want to just come tie up to me, but
he was moving, wasn't he?
They were moving.
He was bumping the top of the water, not the bottom.
It's like, yeah, how do you keep baits on the bottom moving like that?
What's up, Micah? Micah Burkhart in the house.
Mr. Yeah, there he is. And let's see, Anthony Big Fish Easel says, what's good, Matt?
That's my other dude right there.
King of Tennessee, Justin Cox.
one of my Texas boys. Justin got him a brand new, well, not a brand new, but new to him boat. Got him a Sea Art catfishing machine. Congratulations, Justin. You're going to have to get me out on the water in that thing. James Rodriguez. Saw you two there Saturday. We were on the right of you on that point. Biggest 32 pounds. James, we lit them up. We got 25 over 20. Biggest was let's see, Saturday. We fished Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, our biggest was 56. Great day. My son caught that one. We had an epic fishing couple of days of fishing after that Thanksgiving. We put 45 over 20 in the boat. It's crazy. Good times. It's that time of year for us. So,
man, y'all are lucky. You got them big lakes, man. Like around here, if you want to go catch a trophy fish, you really only got one place. You really only got one.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lake that possible could produce some 80+ pound fish, but if you want a real monster, it's the Missouri River. That's it. That's all you got.
Giants come out of that Missouri River, though, man. I mean, a lot bigger than anything in Texas. So,
you betcha.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of our fisheries don't have fish over 70 in them, but there's a lot of what I call mid-sized blues, 20s, 40s, 50s, occasional 60.
Yeah.
Fun fish.
20s to 40s. We got a lot of bodies of water where you can do that and catch numbers of fish. But like if you want a real monster, like
we only got one lake with true monsters, Lake Texoma. So I try to fish it a lot, but right now I moved lakes because it was killing me, man. It was kicking my ass. We get like maybe 3 decent fish on a trip, and I'm like, I can't. This is not very. I mean, I'm happy to get them, but it's not very satisfying when I know what I should be putting up. But all that changed in November, man. We just lit November on fire. So Justin says he broke that boat in last Friday only to get his butt whooped at Texoma. It happens. It happened to me a lot in October up there, man. We had a lot of 10 fish days with like maybe 3 fish over 20, couple over 20, maybe 30 fish was our big 30 was our big fish for the day. So not what I go up there for, but they can't all be good. As bad trips make the good ones that much sweeter. So
true that.
Mike Mitchell, welcome in, Mike. Scott Knoll, Missouri River, he says.
Yep, producing tanks on the Missouri.
Catfish Junkie said he just went out dragging for a second time, only got 2 fish, 31 and 22, still learning. Not bad for your first outing.
I ain't lying.
It gets better, bro. Start cranking in 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time. It's chaos catfishing on that when you're dragging. Oh,
man, it's a blast. It's my favorite.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love dragging. Shitty Fisherman says every trip is a good trip. Count our blessings, not our troubles. It's a blessing to be able to be an angler, but not all trips are good. I've had some shitty ones.
Man, I love watching those planer boards disappear. That's for sure. I love watching them things, man, when they hit and go up underneath the water, dance across all the lines.
I had one about 2 trips ago, took off about 30 yards underwater, popped up way off. I'm like, lost the fish, but I know what kind of fish can do that. Yeah. It's not a small one.
They'll definitely get your heart racing when you look back there and you see a thing just skipping or disappearing.
Mike Mitchell says he got a new PB a couple of weeks ago on the mighty Missouri, 87 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats, Mike. That's an awesome fish, bro.
There's been some good ones caught here lately.
Yeah.
It's that time of year where monsters are coming pretty regularly. James Rodriguez says, going to have to learn to drag. Just got a new boat. It drifts horrible. Oh, man. Dragging's fun. It's easy to do and difficult to master.
That's what makes it fun.
Trinity Outdoor says, hello, everyone.
What's up, buddy?
Brother.
Shitty Fisherman says, as bad as it whooped our ass with waves coming over the front of the boat, it was still amazing. Well, there's something to putting your life on the line that makes you feel alive. So I know how that is. Cat fishermen are crazy.
Yeah, we all need doctor's notes, that's for sure.
Justin, you're on the right lake to do it. I have a feeling you'll hit that 70. 80s are not easy to get, but keep doing exactly what you're doing, and you'll run into one. They're up there, man. In that section I see you up in, they're up there, bro.
Justin, we have them, brother. 70, 80-pound clubs. We got the stickers for you, brother.
Yeah, I got to get in that 90-pound club like Matt.
Let's go.
We got a bunch of them PB stickers ready
Come up here.
to ship out.
Let's get you out on this Missouri.
Yeah, man. Matt Mosley said just got off Texoma with 60 striper, and we didn't catfish today. Yesterday had an amazing operation. Vets with nets trips, 7 over 20. That's a great day. Timothy Langley says, what's up, guys?
What's up, buddy? Matthew, buddy, good job, man. Seeing a lot of great pictures.
Juan says he's tired of seeing his 40-pound club sticker. Juan, come on up here, buddy. I at least get you in the 50-pound club pretty. It's pretty regular for us to get a 50. This time of year, we're starting to nail one just about every trip. So,
Chris, I can tell you, man, them PB stickers the last couple of weeks have been really going out the door. So I know
there's here, boys.
Hey, I love it. Y'all keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Get out on the water. It's time to catch some monsters.
We need to get some more up there over 100.
Make sure you hug them and show them some love. Don't be trying to long arm those fish, boys. Catfish Junkie says he hit a 50 2 days ago on the Mississippi, suspended right over him. New trolling motor has changed the game for him. Yep, trolling motors is probably one of the biggest game changers for catfishermen that's come along in the last 20 years. Those liner boards, man.
I tell you, Chris, I'm excited about tonight. I know before the show, we were talking with Matt, man, and he was talking about the rivers and talking about some dikes. And
yeah, y'all ready to get into the tactics?
Hey, man, I just got all excited about it, brother. So, guys, I know we're going to have an excellent show for y'all tonight. I'm glad everybody's here. I know we're going to definitely hit some good things tonight, guys, so you definitely want to stick around for it.
Doty says everything is frozen solid there already. Jeez, man. It's just now getting good here.
Man, just throw some more blocks out there, break the ice, give them a couple hours, and go back and fish it.
Yeah, the other day before yesterday when I went and got bait, every pond and creek all the way to the lake was frozen, and all
already down into some teens, right?
When we put out, when we put in on the river this morning, all the little feeder creeks that we ran across were frozen still.
Yeah, we
36.
I was talking to Chris. When was it, Chris? Was it this morning or yesterday? I believe it might have been this. We got down to 19 here in South Carolina in some areas. It was nice.
Damn.
Yeah. So cold weather
things quick. That'll move the fish around for sure.
And then we're back up in the 50s the rest of the week.
Yeah, that usually
I don't get it. Like
wherever they are, that's going to fire them up. If you can go find where they're at, they're going to be fired up when that water starts warming back up.
Yeah, it's been a really weird year for the weather up here.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden it just started getting cold. It was warm here, an unseasonably warm fall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like I was saying before, our water temperature literally dropped like 11 degrees over the last week.
Yeah, I tell you, we got a lot of good cold fronts. I know next week's supposed to warm up a little bit, but we're supposed to get a lot of good cold fronts, starting to come down one after another. We're on they said we're on a cycle that they haven't seen in a long time for
yeah,
us
it
here
seems
on
like
the,
they're coming pretty frequently. It's
yeah,
now they're not as strong here because we got a warm cap because of the coast,
yeah,
but it seems like about every 3 or 4 days, it's like a day of north wind, then 2 days of no wind, then it changes out of the south for one day, and then it's north wind the very next day, and then it's like north wind for one, maybe 2 days, and then it's no wind. It's just been a very just, but not real major temperature change like what Matt's and what y'all have experienced on the East Coast. It's
yeah.
crazy. Y'all,
Yeah, Chris, matter of fact, just about 45 minutes up to our north. I believe it was Tuesday night, might have been Monday night. They had just a little system to come down, dropped a little bit of snow, and was out. I mean, Tennessee,
Mike
all them
mentioned
areas.
-2 tonight with wind.
Oh man.
So
They,
when y'all got as this big cool down comes and y'all got these big fronts rolling in, what does that mean for your fishing, Matt? What do you got to do to put fish in the boat? Let's throw today out the window. What are you normally having to do to go put fish in the boat as these winter weather patterns move in and out?
Most of the time I would say look for deep water on our river. And it's not necessarily that the fish are in that particular deep water, but if they're not in it, they're going to be close to it. Especially if you're talking during the middle of the day and it's warm outside, they might sneak up on the run coming out of a hole or next to a hole and warm, because the water on next to the bank or next to rocks is going to be a little bit warmer. But typically that's what we're doing. We're checking the holes and either spots where there's some sort of visible current break or somewhere where we know there's depth with a current break, down where the fish are going to be set. And here, I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but here it's fresh shad is almost 100% the bait of choice in the wintertime. Summertime, spring, it's a whole different deal, but on the river here for sure, fresh shad is
Big
the go.
shad group up. They get real lethargic when it's cold. Water's really cold. It's an easy prey for them. I think I've noticed though a lot of game fish pile right in there with shad. So I think sometimes catfish will eat whatever's piled in there with it as well.
So on the Missouri River, it's actually really rare to find shad. Like you don't see them a lot. Like I never ever catch bait on the river. We are so
Because
overrun.
y'all get so cold, maybe they die in the winter up there, and they just
Well, no, I think I know there's places off of the river itself that you can get them. Like feeder creeks, and there's some various power plants here and there. Uh, but we're just so overrun with Asian carp.
okay.
yeah.
Just so overrun. Like I'll have to shoot you guys a video and send you a video of the graph. Like it's just nuts how many Asian carp there are, and you just don't see and they look different on sonar than like a school of carp look a little different than a school of shad,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
you just I did see some shad today in some spots, but typically I never go to the river without bait. Never. It's just a bad
Yeah,
idea if
I
you want to have
typically, if I'm travel fishing, I bring it with me too, and I travel fish every weekend, pretty
yeah,
much.
and we drove today, we fished a different stretch of river, so we drove an hour and a half to get to the boat ramp, an hour and a half plus to get to the boat ramp. But um
Scott Knowles has a question. He says, does cold temps hurt lithium batteries? Any of you guys running lithium?
No, it does not. The only way it causes damage is if you charge them while they're below 32 degrees. You don't want to charge them below 32 degrees. And doing it once isn't going to hurt them, but doing it repeatedly, their capacity will drop every time you do it. So if you have to, I keep a seating mat that you plug in like to warm up, your garden in the early spring. I have one of those underneath my lithiums. I'll plug it in till they're up to till it's about 100 degrees in there.
Yeah.
Unplug it, plug the chargers in, and then once they're capped off and you're just maintaining them, they're fine at 32 degrees. It's not gonna hurt. It's just the charging them below 32 degrees. Using them at 32 degrees doesn't cause a problem. It's the charging. At least that's my understanding.
Lithium's like a lot of things that I leave on the boat that are lithium based batteries. They don't do well in the winter. So
no.
My trolling motor remote, I leave it on the boat because I've left it in the damn house too many times. I'd rather leave it in the boat and just replace the battery every year. So every year I put a new battery in that iPilot Link remote because it starts getting where it'll only hold 50% now. So that's a good question about the lithiums. I was kind of wondering the same thing. But if you keep them topped off, it's completely different than leaving the thing out in the cold when it's, low. Is that?
Yeah, it's just the charging of them below 32 degrees. At least that's my understanding of it. And I've had mine in the boat for over a year, and I've never had any trouble with them. And
says he's got a motorcycle helmet on his boat when those carp are jumping.
Yeah, they're it's weird. 10 years ago or so when I had my other boat, it seemed like there was a lot of them that were flying out of the water. I don't know if they just get accustomed to the noise of the boats all the time and you still see them jump out of the water, but not like what I remember 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it'd be just a flurry of them everywhere, 100 yards in front of the boat all the way around you. And it just doesn't seem to be that way anymore.
Now, let me ask you, with all those Asian carps and stuff, has the DNR officers, have y'all taken steps at maybe trying to depopulate those whatsoever, or just?
There's no chance of that happening. Like, it's like you wouldn't even believe it. Like, it's crazy. Like, you get over a 40-foot hole, like on the Kansas River. We have right where it kind of comes into the Missouri River. There's a couple spots that typically hold pretty thick concentrations of carp, and they'll be 20 feet thick. From bank to bank, and millions and just millions. Like at our we have a low water dam below the 435 bridge, and when the water's spilling over that, they're just perpetually jumping.
Yeah,
just hundreds of them over and over and over, and they'll just sit there and jump all day, all night, just jumping out of the water. They're so thick, it's just unreal. And then you get into certain areas, which I think is part of the reason why it's much more difficult to find shad anymore. There are places where you can find it. Don't get me wrong, you can find it, but it's usually mixed in with a bunch of Asian carp. And then there's times of the year where they just seem to disappear, and it's just nothing but Asian carp. And I think it's part of the reason why you don't see this many shad on the river.
Shad spawn, they just eat all the eggs.
Well, and I think they compete for food.
So they're about as they're a lot, kind of like the new what was it, the snakeheads.
So Asian carp eats phytoplankton, moss, small, invertebrates.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why you don't hardly ever hear somebody hooking one in the mouth. Like it happens, but it's really rare, really rare. Well, there's been some
hooks and crossing eyes says real shallow in thick weeds, August to September. then pull out weeds in 3 to 5 feet October, and go suspend over deep in November. I wish I could go by some type of freaking textbook deal, but that just don't work for me. I go with more with what the weather's been doing. Every year's different here too, man. It seems like it's getting more extreme every year. Mild, it's a lot more mild, but then when it's nasty, it's way more extreme. And I think it's really confused the fish. We've had fall spawns going on here. So I think a lot of the stuff that you used to could have gone off of, you got to throw a lot of that out the window the last 3, 4, 5 years. That's just
this spring we had pretty massive flooding this spring. And so there's a lot of places that were, for whatever reason, like I said, a lot of our dikes for miles and miles look the same, but historically speaking, there are a handful of dikes, and I know that there's a reason why fish choose those dikes.
Yeah.
There are handful, right. So,
in a sea of the sameness, always look for something that's a little bit different.
That's one of the best pieces of advice I could give to anybody that's trying to catch fish on the Missouri River. All those dikes initially look same, but they're not. So look for something different. There's either a piece of structure on the face of the dike, back from the dike, in the corner of the dike, on the tip of the dike. There's a blowout. There's something different with the current. Something will make one of those more attractive than the rest of them to fish. And
if not more attractive, it becomes something that they just want to go check out. It's on their path, their migrational little path that they like to take. For us, it's timber. In a lake, it's timber. Guys are like, man, there's 4,000 acres of timber. How you decide where to pick? I said, look at all of this, and then find something that stands out, that is different than everything else that you see, and go try that. And more times than not, that thing that's different will be something that fish will be attracted to, or in their little migrational path, they're going to go check that one big giant tree that's out on that point where there's 10,000 other trees out here in the open water. So
yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people overlook. It's even back when I was chasing flatheads real heavy on a lake that I know very, very well, there's timber along every bank, but there's one spot where there's this weird little triangle where there's no timber. Always catch fish there. Always. Does it look like every other bank on that lake? It sure does. It looks like every other bank. But if you look at it close, there's one little section where there's a triangle. There's no timber all the way to the bank. And my thought is that they use that coming from the deep water, and they run up into the bank to ambush prey.
Like a funnel.
Yeah, like exactly. That's exactly what it That's exactly what it looks like. And so spots like that are likely to be more productive. But on a river like this spring, we had pretty massive flooding, and it changed a lot of things. So spots that produced fish last year are not necessarily producing fish this year. Yeah. So it's not a game of, I caught a fish here last year. I caught a fish here last year, so I'm going to go fish it again this year and do the same. It's not going to happen.
A lot of my friends that I've been helping the last 2 or 3 years, they're like, man, I'm going off the stuff that, you taught me last year. I'm like, you got to every year's different. It's just, you can't go off what happened last year. Now, if you pick 5 years, you might see that same scenario a couple of times within that 5-year span, but it's not the same every year because there's a lot of variables. It's water temperature is one, but then the weather pattern before and after is one. The length of the daylight is another one, and feeding all those different variables in, it's never really exactly the same. That's what makes blue catting so fun, because
so frustrating.
That's it, Matt. I want to hit on something you were just hitting on, Matt, was about things changing. Chris, we were talking about here, here in South Carolina where I live. I'm a river guy majority of the time, and then I fish Santee Cooper a lot. But our rivers, back in the day, you didn't have, it seemed like have as much changing. But within the last 5 to 6 years, our rivers, it seems like we're constantly getting these floods now every year. Things is changing.
I freeze.
Holes is no, you good, Bubba.
Right.
Holes are basically closing up, reopening somewhere else. The banks are basically getting more structure, thrown into some different banks. Things washing out.
Y'all had higher water, bigger flows.
Lots of rain, lots of flooding has completely changed the landscape of our rivers. In a lot of areas where people say, well, I can go here and catch fish like I used to, like you were saying, it's not like that no more. You got to relearn. The last 2 years I've had to relearn because of the rain and the flooding that we've had, relearn a lot of the fishing areas in our rivers. And it has been like, okay, well, I used to be able to go here and tear them up. Now I might have to go 200-300 more yards down where there's new structure, new holes that's been within that bank area now. So yeah, things is changing a lot now.
Yeah, for sure. And we have, I'm sure you guys do too. We have a lot of barge traffic. So barge traffic, timber gets moved in and out every time a barge goes down the river. But we also have a pretty massive like gravel and sand dredging operation that runs on numerous stretches of our river. So there's dredge boats digging up the bottom of the river, scattered all up and down the Missouri River. Yeah. And then you got barges ripping up and down. And then, we had the floods, and, it was a weird year because we had a lot of water up north, but not a lot of water in the state. So the Missouri River came up really, really high, but the Kansas River did not come up until the Missouri River was back flowing into the Kansas River. Yeah. So the Kansas River actually, the level rose from the Missouri pushing water back up into it. And we had pretty serious flooding this year. And a lot of the spots and things and places where I know there were huge sandbars and places where there were deep holes and places where there were channels running along the bank, they're not there anymore. So it's, and guys are like, well, man, I went out there and, I got skunked the last 7 trips. And he's like, every time you go, you're putting fish in the boat. And I'm like, well, like I'm traveling like a lot, like 20, I'm probably averaging 50 to 60 miles a trip. And, a lot of guys don't want to, or, they're not familiar with the river. They don't want to run that far. Like, I totally get that.
Easy, man. They want it to be easy. It's very rare to go out there and they're exactly where you thought they were going to be. Now, there are certain circumstances where they become super predictable, but a lot of times you just got to go find them. You got an idea where there might be, but, you just got to go grind. Like Juan Tienda said, you got to grind until you find, and you just got to keep going and plowing forward. Don't settle for just sitting there because you've spent a lot of time. Gas is expensive. I get it. But, I'm out there to catch fish. I'm going to burn through it if I have to. And I
got a buddy, man. He's like, oh, man, I don't really care if we catch fish, man. I'm just out here to have a good time, relax. I'm like, man, I care if we catch fish. I'm out here to catch fish. I'm out here to have a good time and relax.
Fish.
I'm not here to put fish in the boat, bro.
I was talking with Chris a couple of weeks ago. I've got some rivers where I've got to travel a good bit upriver to go try to find some good fish anymore. But I've got a couple of rivers. I can actually tell you, all I got to do is by the time I unload my boat, take my trolling motor, put it down, run 100 yards, I can actually sit there and just do nothing but pull them in with no problem.
Yeah, that's nice, man. Because
it's crazy.
In October, I fished Texoma. I'd run 10 miles this way. They weren't there. I'd run 10 miles north. They weren't there. I'd run 10 miles back, look again. Then I'd run 10 miles south, look again. I'd run 10 miles back. No, not there. Run 10 miles east and maybe eventually find them. But I ran 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles to find a group of fish. And my buddy's like, Dan, you work your ass off. I'm like,
Right.
well, I mean, I didn't come out here just to float around. I came
You
out
know, and that's part of it. You know, I made a post a couple weeks ago about the catfish special sauce, and like, man, you know, it's 26 degrees with 22-mile-an-hour gusts, and I'm out here on the lake throwing this cast net, you know, freezing as I pull it out of the water and stuff, you know, and guys are like, oh man, I really want to catch fish. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not unless you want to go out and freeze your hands off out there throwing that cast net for 2 hours trying to get bait. Or, you know, you're not going to go on the river and fish 5 spots and catch a bunch of fish. You're going to fish 20 spots.
Yeah.
And like that's just, you know, at least here, that's what it takes, man. It's work.
Yeah.
It's work.
Matt, I don't know if it's like this for you. I've got one area. It's a river that's completely different than any other river I fished. And Chris, I've talked with you a couple weeks ago. Went there. I put the trolling motor down. Went over to the fishing spot. I mean, bam, was tearing them up. But if you do that during the day, you might catch one here and there. But as soon as it turns dark, the poles never slow down. Just constantly. Do you have areas like that out there where you are? Because I was talking with Chris. I mean, it's the first river I've ever done it on. I mean, as soon as it turns dark, fishing just lights up. But as daytime, it slows. I don't know what.
You know, I think at least this time of the year, you know, a lot of guys are like, oh man, I'm gonna wait till like 10 or 11 o'clock to get out there so it's a little bit warmer. Most of my better days, all of the good fish are caught before noon.
Yeah, you
Not,
know,
not always.
month,
Not
every
always.
damn fish, damn near every fish we caught's almost afternoon. I don't know why. Guys are like, why? I'm like, I don't know. We've had like 4 fish in the boat before 11 a.m. and I'm thinking, damn, this is not good, man. And then all of a sudden, it's like all hands on deck. It's freaking sleigh fest till about 3:30 p.m. and we leave them biting. It's like,
You know, I haven't seen it this year, but like last year, there's just sometimes, and I don't know what the deal is, where everything just clicks. But I drop the boat in, I run one dike up, drop anchor, turn around, I'm jacking around in the boat, and I got a rod that's just folded over behind me, and I'm not paying attention.
you know, that's going to be a good day, right, Matt?
It's like first fish of the day. First fish of the day is like 40 pounds. So I'm like, dope. Drop it in the water. Ain't 2 minutes later, there's a 20. 2 minutes later, there's a 20. 2 minutes later, there's a 50. 2 minutes later, there's a 56. Like
You hit
talking,
you hit the right group of fish when they were turned on early. And you know, and you could probably go all over the lake and it might not be, or all over the fishery and it might not be that way, because I had the same thing happen to me about 3 weeks ago, and some guys on the lake, they're like, how'd you do? I said, how'd you do? And they're like, well, it was a full moon and they just didn't want to bite, and they just quit biting after the wind change, you know, right before the wind change. And they're like, how'd you do? And I'm like, damn, that's not what happened to us. I mean, shit, we lit them up. I mean, from the time the wind was changing, we caught fish. The moon didn't matter. We caught fish. Why was the section I was in, they were fired up. I just, you know, we were on the right group. And I mean, we were on a huge pile of fish.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you know, like you hear people talk about that. Oh, they just weren't biting today. Somewhere they were.
I've thrown that equation out the
somewhere
window.
they were.
I got enough buddies that are really good, and somebody's always kicking some ass.
Almost always. Like
guys aren't doing well. There's always somebody who's got something dialed in or figured out a little bit.
Yeah, or they just happen to be in the right spot.
Sometimes that's it. Because I told him, he's like, what'd you do? I was like, I got lucky. I was like, I just went off a hunch. I threw everything that normally I would do, I threw that shit out the window and I went and did what I thought I shouldn't be doing. I went to where I would be in February and they were there. And as soon as I threw down, before my third rod was even, before I'd even engaged anything, my rods are going out. I had a fish on and it was steady the whole day after that. It's just fish after fish.
Yeah, we just talked on that, Chris, how so much different this year than what last year was. You know, everything we thought we knew this year, we basically just kind of throwed it out. Now rewriting and relearning a lot of stuff.
We're just now getting into a normal pattern here. I mean, I think the fish have been really confused. We had 70-degree waters for 2 months here, guys, and our fish, I believe, were in the spawn. We're in the spawn in the fall. A lot of guys were catching fish. They were cleaning them with eggs. I know the shad that I was cutting open had eggs. A lot of the other fish that I was using for bait had eggs in them. I'm sure the catfish did the same. So it was a weird. It was a weird October for us, where I think fish spawned, and that tends to mess things up. Water temps in the 70s is usually scattered. Fish are scattered. They're not real easy to pattern. And we had water in the 70s for a long time. And we went straight from the 70s to being 60 for about a week. And now it's in the 50s. So.
Yeah, we kind of had the same. It was really weird. We had, I've got some pictures of the graph from October, November last year, and we were 12 degrees colder water temperature same day last year. And just now, like today was the first time where I've seen where, like, okay, yeah, this is what the water temperature should be. This is what it was last year. This is what it was the year before. This is what it should be right now.
So Mike said November, December, he hit shallow spots on the river, and we've typically, I'm in 5 to 10 feet at those times. And this year, I didn't catch fish in 5 to 10 feet at all. I went to 35, 40 feet, and which is not where I haven't fished that deep. I don't know that I've ever fished that deep in November. It's just, just weird year, man. I don't know why. I'm not really sure why. I know it was, I think fish were confused early, like October. It was just so warm. We didn't have any major rain events the entire month of October, which is normal. Normally we got cool rain events, and that tends to make fish and bait migrate and be more predictable that month. That didn't happen. So I think that, coupled with the warmer water, it was just a very weird fall for us.
And that's like we're just talking, this year, last year our pattern was totally different last year as far as the weather. This year, now we're getting December now, and we're getting those fronts that's coming down, starting to come down a lot more. And hearing the weather talk about, well, we're in a different pattern this year than we were last year. So anytime you get a different pattern like what we're getting now, we're getting that cold weather, 19 degrees, this week already. Highs today. It really does. And so you're sitting here going, well, I was doing this last year at this time. So now I've got to change it up and figure it out. What do I need to do now? And like you were talking about, grouping them up more and stuff. And, Matt, like you fishing the dikes and stuff, are you finding right now a certain time of the year that you're having to fish certain ways on that dike or the different sandbars to?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I've really got it narrowed down to, like, okay, November they're here, but I will tell you that I've caught, big fish in 30 foot of water right on the edge of, 3 mile an hour current at 36-degree water temperatures. But I've also caught, my 96 was caught in 40-degree water, 7 foot deep.
Yeah.
Very, very close to a 40-foot hole, but he was only in 7 foot of water, and he was only 15 feet off the bank.
Yeah. And that's some of the things like I talk about, going to the lake, where I talk with Chris, sometimes he might be doing something totally opposite than what I'm actually doing. Sometimes I'll be going up to that 3-4 foot of water early in the mornings, and then as the day goes, starting to go deeper and deeper. And Chris, you have some areas where you start out going straight deep, where
I look for the biomass starting about right now. We're not quite there yet, but I mean, water temps now right around mid 50s. That's when you start seeing the biomass. Now, I did hit them, not last trip, but two trips ago, 3 trips ago, I started hitting it. I found it. It was freaking thick for 2 miles, and threw down on them, and we smoked them. And I think, as you get these cold fronts, it starts pushing the fish that not all fish go by the same program, guys, but quite a few that like to be shallow. When you have a major swing in temperature, it freaks them out. They want to get out of that shallow water, and they want to find an area that's as close to where they normally like to be, but they're still comfortable. And I think if you can find those areas, that's where you find the biomass. And, as we have these fronts roll in, they starts moving them a little bit deeper each time. And then, it groups them up really good. So that's one of the things that I'm really looking for starting about right now.
Yeah.
The biomass. It's just a thick group of fish. You can't really determine what is in the group. It's all species because they work synergistically. And the big catfish kind of like to sit on the outskirts of those large groups of bait fish with game fish predating on them, and then they just move in for the easy meal. What's up, buddy boy?
So that's something that I've had quite a lot of people ask me about too. Like I said, you will occasionally find a dike with a hole behind it where there's not any Asian carp in it. You will occasionally see that during certain times of the year. There might be a stretch of river where you go 4, 5, 6 dikes and you don't see a single fish, which is kind of rare. But usually what you'll find is somewhere in that hole, there is going to be a massive amount of Asian carp. And everybody's like, well, I see fish in there. Do I fish it? Maybe not. But like usually a big blue is not necessarily going to be in the mix with those fish, but he'll be somewhere close. And man, I can't stress enough to learn your electronics, because there are really subtle differences between a big blue cat and a 10-pound Asian carp. Like they're very subtle differences. And, I rely really, really heavily on side imaging to locate blue cats, like real heavily. And a 50-pound blue cat, it doesn't matter.
Stop it.
It doesn't matter if you've got a hummingbird, a Lowrance, or a Garmin, or what you're using. 50-pound blue on side scan is going to look like a big fish.
Yeah.
It should be very obvious. Like
it looks like a gar, but shaped like a triangle. The guy's like, how do you tell the difference? I'm like, it looks like a gar. It's a little bit softer, but it's wider in the nose.
Yeah, the shadows usually, at least on the Garmin for me, football shaped shadows.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you see the tail.
And we talk about the graphs. You bring up a good area. We talk about it all the time on the show. How important to trusting your graph, learn your graph. It's going to help you fish and catch bigger fish. And that's one thing we definitely talk about a lot on here, and we hope everybody does, man.
Yeah, I think guys they get into an area and they just quit looking at the graph once they're fishing. I tell guys, pay attention to the graph while you're fishing. A lot of times you'll catch the fish that you see on the graph, and when you catch the fish that you're looking at, that's going to back up what you're seeing when you're graphing. So, okay, you see this. Okay, now I see that's what a 30 looks like because I just caught the damn thing. All right, that's a 40. Before you know it, it's like, all right, you know exactly what you're looking at. When you come off plane and start scanning, you're like, all right, there's big fish here. There is no guesswork. I'm fishing it. You don't have to waste a lot of time once you start getting accustomed by catching the fish that you're looking at. So,
yeah, and it's like people here, like I said, the Asian carp is just like, it's just insane. Like I'm telling you, I'll pull a video of a good area next time I'm out there, just so I'll actually record it on the graph so you guys can see it. But just the number of them is just insane. And so even trying to look through them is very difficult. But anytime there's a blue cat present, it's going to look different, like some kind of different, because gar look different than the Asian carp. Gar look different than a blue cat. The blue cat looks different than Asian carp. It's gonna look different.
Yeah,
somehow,
Asian
regardless
carp
of what you do.
typically are a schooling type fish. They're all going to be pointed
Same direction.
unison. You may see them moving like that. Now, when you see catfish grazing, they're more like wild hogs. You're going to see if they're in a large group, you'll see them spread out. They're not. You might see a pair occasionally, right, like this, but most of the time, when you see them in an area feeding, they're spread out. They're not all pointed in the same direction unless it's a high, in a lake. If you got high wind, they'll all orient this way. But when they're feeding, you're going to see them spread out. You never see more than about 2 of them real close together. And that's just catfish. That's just the way that they act.
That's it. And just like we were talking to you, it's something when you're able to go over the top of these fish and you can pretty much call basically which pole that's going to catch that fish, how long it's going to take to get to that fish, to get to that bait. I saw right there where in chat right there where they were talking about the graphs. The graphs is a game changer. Being able to do stuff like that is just unbelievable. I've gone over fish and go, okay, it should be this pole. It should take 3 minutes, and that pole should be coming over that fish. Yeah. And
that's exactly what I say. It's going to be the third pole because I know how far out my pole is. I got the grids on my graph. It's 57 feet out to the left side of the boat. It's going to be that third planer rod, and it'll be about 2 to 3 minutes before our bait gets over that fish. If it goes down, it's going to be that third rod right there, and then bang,
Yeah. So like anytime if you're out there, cruising and running across the river or the lake on side scan and you see something and you're like, oh my God, that looks different, and you're gonna fish that area, man, take a picture of that thing. And I wish I'd done this like a couple weeks ago. We pull into this area. It'd been a while since we really caught a fish. We had a pretty rough go of it. We pull in there and I was like, there you go, that's blue right there. And Shane was with me. And he's like, you think it's big? I said, man, it's about 30 pounds. He's like, cool. So we pull up on the bank right there, 2 minutes. It's in the boat.
Yeah.
And I said, that 100%, that fish, and he was like 26 pounds, I think. I'm like, that 100% is the fish that we just went over the top of. And I really wish I'd have taken a picture of it. But like once you see that happen, like once or twice, then everything just starts to click. And when you look at it, you'll know what you're looking at.
And not only that, it's like grass, man. They gonna save you time. There's what I call a lot of dead water. You don't want to waste time in a lot of those areas. Fishing. If there's no fish,
dead water. I'm not that guy. I won't fish unless I see something I like. I won't throw down.
Yeah.
Setting hooks and crossing eyes says you think about bait too. If you have a herd of sheep in a field and they're eating in one corner of the field, eventually they eat the corner out. They go to the next corner, wait for that corner. Now bait, a lot of our bait fish are eating phytoplankton, krill, moss. They're up on shore on a wind-blown shoreline. The reason they're up there is because there's stuff crashing into the rocks. You're having micro, small invertebrates that are getting washed out from the rocks. So I don't know that they're cleaning those areas out. Our bait fish are generally pushed by the wind and water temperature. Those are the two major factors with bait fish in a lake. It's going to be wind and water temperature. And then, also weather. If you got rain, they're going to move up to where there's fresh water flowing in. So fish tend to follow the bait. So
Yeah, I
think
kind of
that
feel like
out the phytoplankton because there's damn near an unlimited supply in a lake. It's all over the freaking bottom. It gets, what's happening is when you got wave, it's stirring it up. The difference in a river is you got current. So if you got current washing up against a shoreline, it's knocking that phytoplankton loose from rocks, and the fish are going to move up and feed in that type of manner.
yeah, it's kind of the same here. If on our river, the bait's not going anywhere. It's dike after dike after dike after dike after dike, just
our lake
bait.
full of bait.
And if you were to just sit on a spot and wait for a fish, especially this time of year, your chances of catching big fish is very, very, very low.
Yeah, we talked about it several shows ago. Somebody's just like, find the bait, find the fish. I'm like, jeez, if it was that easy, I could go 50 yards from the ramp and I'd be catching fish. That's not how it works.
And
there's bait everywhere.
There may be times in bodies of water where that's true, because I have bodies of water where, we'll use like gulls, for example, and we don't have lakes that are anywhere near the size of what you guys have. Our lakes are fractions of your lakes, but find the birds, you find bait, you find the bait, you find the fish. And we aren't just looking for shad, we're looking for white bass, wipers, because it's my thought that the blue cats will follow those guys around and pick up scraps and also eat them. But yeah, that works some places, but there's other places where there's just such a prolific amount of bait. There's times of the year, during the Chad hatch, and you can go literally from the far east to the far west to the far south to the far north and run across the lake, and you've got a 10-foot thick layer of baby shad, literally lake.
Yeah, big fish don't eat those.
Yeah.
They don't. Big fish don't. We got lakes full of micro shad. I have never seen a big fish under them, ever. Never. Not once, ever have I seen big fish under micro shad. Now, I realize guys say big fish eat, will eat, elephants eat whatever the
peanuts. Yeah.
Peanuts, right. But micro shad, big fish will not even freaking sniff micro shad. Now, if you thread 50 of them on a hook, you might. But now I've seen them blowing up on the yearling shad, small shad, But our lake's so full of micro shad, it's insane, and I have never seen.
I'm saying small shad. I'm saying, like 3 to 4 inches.
Okay, well, they'll eat those, but even then,
Chris, we got a question for all three of us. Asking, are we all pretty much in the same location, or where we're all from?
I'm in Texas.
I'm in South Carolina.
I'm right basically Kansas City metro, Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah. So I fish a lot of lakes in Kansas, and then I also fish the Missouri River pretty often.
So going back that way, guys, we're, all three of us is pretty well from different areas, like we just said. So it's good to get to know, what we're talking about, the rivers in my area, from where Matt's talking about the Missouri and different things in his area. And Chris, talking about the lakes and stuff where he's from, we're basically coming from three different areas, and pretty much you got some similarities. You got a lot of different similarities. So when we take in ideas like this, we're trying to help with a range of different areas and different lakes and rivers that we're trying to throw at everybody. And that's what makes it so cool, that how much different areas that we all come from. Let's see.
Yeah, it does make you feel like you're doing something right. You roll over some fish and go, oh man, we about to catch that fish, and then you get a rod that goes down. Man, there ain't nothing cooler than that.
That's it.
My boy Mike McClung, King of Lake Worth. Then Leper says, Hello, Chris and Jamie. Hope all is well. Great show.
Joey says, do I believe Carolina are different than the Midwest? I actually do believe there's a lot of difference in where I'm from to the Midwest. I really do. I mean, like myself, from where I'm from and where Chris is at, we were just discussing where some mornings I can start out real shallow that Chris might go for that mass, a lot deeper than where I'm doing.
Yeah, but I got guys that fish shallow same day I fish deep. You can't just say because what I do that's the way everybody fishes in Texas. I don't believe that I fish different. I just fish different than a lot of guys. The way that I fished, I went against the grain of the traditional way of what was the way guys did it here in Texas for forever. Guys, Texas used to be the king of catfishing. World records were here. Our whitehead world record was here. The blue cat world record was here. This whole blue cat game took off, when Sandy Cooper took off. But Texas was a big catfish mecca when I was a young man, a kid. But, it's growing everywhere else. It was an anchor game. I taught myself, I broke free from that anchor game of what every one of my buddies was doing because they told me the way that I was trying to do it differently was not going to work. And I just wanted to prove them wrong. And now here we are, it's 15 years later and now everybody's dragging planer boards and dragging is, huge and it's proven it works. So I feel good that I was at the forefront of every angler that I know was not doing it when I first started doing it. I got made fun of. I do have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I did it when they were all telling me you can't do it. So there's something in me that tells me, forget what guys tell you the way you have to do it. Go do it your way. And if it works, good. You don't have to fish like Matt. You don't have to fish like Jamie. You don't have to fish like me. Go try something that you like to do. And if it starts working for you, then do it.
And that's something Matt, I don't know if you've ever done it. You talk about anchoring and stuff earlier. Here recently, I started dragging our rivers, over the structures, over a lot of the dirty, water and stuff on the Great PD River. People look at me like I'm crazy sitting here, dragging the rivers because they're all like, man, we only know anchor. Do you ever do a lot of that on your area, or you're pretty much 100% anchor?
I drag the Kansas River when the conditions are right and do really pretty well. The Missouri River, I've heard vicious rumor that there's a couple guys that are doing it. I just don't know how you would. We're looking at 3 to 3.5 mile an hour current, rocky, uneven bottoms, dikes everywhere. I think it would be pretty difficult. I'm sure there's probably a way to do it. I just don't know how you would, though.
Yeah.
I don't think you could drag upstream unless, I just don't think you could.
And that's like, I'm not able to do it because of the current on a lot of our rivers. Also, it's certain rivers I'm able to do that. But, we do have some that basically the current's like 5-6 mile an hour. That's out.
Yeah.
That's out the picture. That's pretty much going and anchoring up behind, some structure or stuff like that. But, I have found it to be a game changer on a lot of these rivers that people like, man, crap. That's something I need to try. And
guys get in the habit who've been successful doing it, and guys coming up think, well, that guy's been successful doing it that way. That's the only way to do it. I'm telling you, in reality, catfishing has not been trophy catfishing is just reaching a level where guys are really figuring it out. There's great, a lot of great anglers, but when I first started, we were using Kale hooks, Carolina rigs. There was no such there was no dragging.
Yeah.
No,
We're
drifting
back.
came around because Casey Nelms on the Santee Cooper started doing it, and he kept it a secret for a long time the way he was doing it. But guys started catching on, and before you know it, it started spreading. And now, nobody drifts, everybody drags. And,
Yep.
What's next? I mean, 10 years ago, nobody planer board. When I was planer boarding, guys were laughing, saying, what are those things? And you're trolling for catfish, and they would laugh at me. I'm like, yeah, I'm laughing. You're laughing.
It's probably one of the hands down one of the most effective ways to target catfish.
Yeah.
It's
nothing
been a game
compared.
changer. So,
Nothing compared.
this is all fairly new, and now that we've got smart trolling motors, because 12 years ago we weren't using those either,
No.
and so I think,
isn't it crazy? Like, you guys are both probably old enough, like when I started catfishing, I was just a kid and I was out there with my grandpa, and it was Zebco 808s, and man, if you were a catfisherman, man, you were trash, bro. Like you were catching catfish because you didn't have enough money to buy lures. That's why you were catching catfish. And look where we're at now. We got $125,000 catfish boats. Come on. I mean, it's just cool to see where it's gone.
We were talking at a tournament not too far back. I believe it was at the King Cat tournament that I fished back on Santee Cooper, the Classic. I was talking with some people, and they said, and they were like I was, I believe this is getting as big as bass fishing. I believe you give catfishing the way we're going within the next 5 years, catfishing will be bigger than bass fishing in a lot of areas.
I think that's the potential, but it's because of the size of the fish. The one thing that's probably working against it is it's difficult. And bass fishing's easy. And I'm not knocking bass fishing because I grew up bass fishing, but any kid can go tie on a spinnerbait and go beat the shore down and catch fish any day of the year. You can go catch some fish. You can't do that trophy catfishing. There's way more that goes into it. Now you can do it on the cheap, but I don't believe that you can do it at a high level on the cheap. I think that's probably the main thing that's holding trophy catfishing back. To be really good at it, it takes a mountain of knowledge, takes a lot of freaking gear, a lot of heartache. It's not an easy thing to get going. And I've got a lot of guys that I've tried to help and they gave up. I do have a lot of people that they've absorbed it and done well, but a lot of guys, they don't like going out there and just not catching fish trip after trip. And
man, let's touch on that. Like, people see, Matt went out and they got, 350-pound flatheads this month and got this 85-pound blue and 55-pound blue.
It's heartbreaking to see somebody else make it look so easy.
That's dope. Like, it's totally cool. But what you guys don't see is the 375 other trips that I put in on that river in the last year where I didn't catch a damn thing. I broke props. I lost rods. Like, you name it. Like,
you're willing to do it, though. You're willing to break.
There is not one single thing you can do to up your game more than get on the water.
Yeah.
Every single chance you get, even when it's
I tell guys, it's not rocket science. And anybody can do it. All you got to do is have the desire. You got to fish hard, fish often, and just, have a passion for it. So
try, like, literally really try. Like, and if something don't work, try something different. Like, don't be like we talked about earlier, I caught a fish in this spot doing this. I caught a fish in this spot doing this. Well, that's cool, but try something else, because there's a million different ways to catch a fish. There's a million different rigs out there. There's a million different ways to approach a hole or a piece of structure, or are you above it, below it, beside it, on top of it? Are you 100 feet away from it, or are you on top of it? There's a million little tiny variables.
It's all those little things Matt, that makes the difference, because a lot of guys who come fishing with you and they want to learn, they're not paying attention to all those little things. They're looking at the rod stroke and they think, okay, this is going to be, I got it. No problem. They go try to do it. They can't reproduce it. There's a lot.
It's critical thinking, you know, like you go and let's say you do have a banger of a day. Why? Why'd you have that day? What was the weather doing? What was the water conditions like? What was the water temperature? How much current did you have? Where did you catch all those fish in relation to whatever piece of structure it was? Can you find another place on your body of water that is similar to that? You know, why was that fish? Why were those fish right here and not over here? Why were they here? Like what made them be here? Why were we able to catch them there? And I think a lot of people just are like, oh man, I caught a fish in this spot, so this is a good spot. But why? Tomorrow that might not be the spot. There might be another one just like it somewhere else that is the spot. But if you don't think about why that was the spot today, how are you going to know how to find the next one tomorrow? You know.
And Matt, that goes back to showing, you're talking about that. It's showing or telling people about learn your area, learn your water that you're fishing is the biggest thing. Put that time, put the effort in. Don't give up on it. You know, Matt, you could probably talk about your river there. You could probably sit here and talk about a million different things that you've learned about that river, different times of the year, different moons, different winds that you can basically know, okay, well, it's this wind, I'm fishing this moon, I'm fishing, this front, this is where I know I can go. That's the biggest thing in learning trophy catfishing. If you cannot put all of that together, you won't be a trophy catfisherman.
No. Make friends.
Put all that together, Jamie.
Yeah.
It's not, for one, you try to have an understanding of the weather. Okay, that's one key part of it. But then, there's a lot of other things. It's time of the year. How long is the daylight that
That's
day?
it.
Has it been are we moving into shorter days? What was the weather leading up to that? What weather's on the way? What's the water temperature? Is the water rising? Is it falling? And you can't go off of one little thing, and you have to take every one of those into consideration to really be able to dial them in. And how many times that time of year is the water level that with the weather was that the week before, with the weather system approaching, with the water temperature it is that you don't have that same scenario every year. It's different every year. That's what's different.
And Chris, you talk about water. Okay, there's rivers I can tell you where to go if the water's shallow. There's rivers I can tell you when it's flooded at the boat landing, put your boat in, you're going to catch fish on that river when that water is flooded because of the water flow. Go to the backwaters where the water's coming out the swamps, bringing all of that bait out, bringing all that food out to them, some of the areas where you can cut them off. Just knowing things like that is going to make you a hell of a fisherman. Stuff to learn like that. And Matt, you could probably speak for the same thing. You just water temperatures, height of water, where to fish, how to fish it, and everything.
Yeah, it's weird. I just feel like I wish you guys could come fish this river with me because I just feel like it's so different than any other body of water. It's
you got me excited. I'm a river guy. I love river fishing.
It's just so weird, and it's so different from like today. Sucked. I could go back and fish that same area tomorrow and just wreck fish.
Yeah.
No difference in weather, no difference in water level, and that's why I tell people, man, just go. And like,
a lot of times say it's not going to be a good bite. I'm like, the only way to know is to go. I've gone so many times when I don't think it should be a good bite, but that's not going to stop me. Yeah. I'm going because I've had way too many days where things should not have been going my way, and it turned out to be great fishing.
Well, Chris, we were talking about the moons. We were talking about the moon phase just the other day. Full moon. I went and I waxed them.
Yeah, most guys would have told you that day on the fishing report, it ain't worth going.
Yeah, that's it.
You got 4 wind changes that day and a full moon. forget about it. You ain't catching fish. And typically I'd say, yeah, you're probably right. But, I went that day and we lit them up.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
Well, what it comes down to is, again, man, somewhere on that body of water, they're eating.
Yeah.
Regardless of the conditions, somewhere there's hungry fish somewhere. You just got to find them at night.
Yeah.
And then another thing, man, I would tell people,
once you find the fish, don't leave the fish. I'm not that guy. If they're not doing what I want them to do, I am confident that I can go find another group, and I will just keep grinding until I find some fish that will actually bite. And today
we did that.
If I can't find some that'll bite, I can always go back to the other ones, and maybe they'll be turned on by the time I go back. So
that's just like fishing tournaments. There's going to be a couple of guys in that tournament that's going to actually find the fish. When you're going to have people that might not even bring a fish to the scales. I find out all the time in tournament fishing. Somebody's going to figure things out. There's always fish that's biting somewhere on that lake because that person figured out how to do it the right way on that lake.
Juan said speed is critical on Glass Lake days, Chris. I fished one before Thanksgiving and went 0.7 and out some good fish in the boat. And Juan, that is not typical for a Glass Lake day. Y'all have probably heard me numerous times say when the lake is glass, they lay down in the mud, you got to slow down your presentation. You got to put your baits on the bottom, and you got to let it stay in front of their face a little bit longer. But Juan, I'm with you because this year's been completely different. I don't know. I'd like to say I know why. I don't know why. We've been going 0.7 on days where there's glass, and we've been hammering them. And
we just talked about that, Chris.
Not normal because I've got 10 years before that of dragging where it's 0.3, 0.4 on those days is what's catching the fish. So be willing to change. If something's not working, make an adjustment, bump it up, go a little faster, shorten some leaders, get them down close to the bottom. Maybe if that ain't working, maybe lengthen them. I don't know. I mean, we've caught a lot of fish on long leaders on no wind days. So,
yeah, we just hit up on that just a couple weeks ago talking about that same thing. And I proved that point back on the King Cat tournament back on Santee Cooper I believe it was last month, for the Classic, where one day the lake was slack. I mean, no wind whatsoever. The second day, we had a little bit of white capping. How much difference the fish was. We slowed it back down on the second day. The first day when it was glass, we went faster and ended up catching some fish, getting them baits to jump a little bit off the bottom, getting that reaction bite. So yeah, it's been different this year.
So James, Saturday I went 0.6. I went all the way from 0.3 to 0.7, 0.6. It was freaking sleigh fest. If I changed it 0.1 either direction, we barely caught a fish. So we dialed it in fairly early at 0.6, and we smoked them at 0.6. Now, it was a windy, rough day, and that they just wanted it 0.6. So,
and Matt, on the river or around the dikes that you fish, are you finding when you got heavier current that you're having to change it up, maybe the fish, or it might be in the little bit slower current some days in the faster current? Or how's that playing with you down?
Man, until we get to a point where the water is so high that it's coming over the tops of all the dikes all the way to the banks, there's not a whole lot of difference. There's always a spot where you can find where there's less current to no current. And there's so many dikes. Like if I pull up a map, you'd be like, holy crap, they're just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And, pretty much all of them are laid out pretty much the same. They all look real similar. And unless the water's really, really high, there's always slack water somewhere. And even if you can't see it on the surface, your bait can still sit on the bottom with a 5-ounce piece of lead, and it'll still sit there.
Yeah. Some days you might have no current hardly on the top, but up underneath that water, you got a lot of current up under there.
Yeah, and I think people miss some of the areas that hold fish on our rivers, because they'll look at a spot and just an example like the tip of a dike where the river's coming around the tip of a dike, that current's hauling, man. Like, that's the 5 miles an hour, but at the bottom of that, there's a trough at the bottom of that that's deeper than either side. You got the main body of the river that's considerably shallower, and then you've got a sandbar on the other side that's gonna eventually work itself up to a couple of feet deep. And in that trough, even though that's like the most violent looking part of the river on the surface, there's very little current down there in the bottom of that. And there are times of the year when, not quite yet, but it's close, where those fish will pile up in that trough right on the end of those dikes. And you'll pull up there and, you'll mark 3, 4, 5 fish and you'll sit on that and you'll catch every single one of them. Bam. And I mean, 5 minutes, you put a bait in the water, they're on it. Those fish, I believe, in that trough, they are actively feeding. They are there to eat. And, like we talked before, this time of year, it's a game of like, you pull up on a spot, scan for fish. If you don't see one, you might still see something that makes you want to fish that area, because you're not going to mark every fish that's passing through a hole.
Yeah,
You
sometimes
gotta
they're
mark every fish.
transitioning and you're setting up where they're going to be coming through.
Right.
When
Or they could be, they could be in a piece of timber.
That's
Yeah, or just be off, be behind a rock that you just can't see, or behind a piece of structure or whatever. So if you got a spot there you want to set up and fish it, fish this area of it, fish this area, fish up to this area, and do that in a 30-minute span. And if you don't put a fish in the boat, get out. Go find fish.
Yeah.
Like they're not coming. They're not, it's winter time. The water's 35, 36 degrees.
not moving
They
super
ain't,
fast, super far.
yeah,
They're
they ain't coming to you. So if you don't put one in the boat in that 45 minutes tops, like tops, like if you mark a big fish, sit on it 45 minutes.
A lot of guys don't want
You
to work
don't.
hard, Matt. So.
Now,
If
I'm
you
going to hit
don't,
on something.
Good for
like
us,
we're
I'm gonna
literally
hit on something that a lot of people don't talk about, or I don't hear no talk about it. I call them little vortexes. Often points, you got these little vortexes that does like this. You see them all the time. Myself here on our river, when I see those points, and I got a lot of those coming off them points, they're bringing in a lot of little food out them swamps in that area around. I fish just off to the side of those. I catch a lot of catfish in that type of areas with them little vortexes just constantly.
I think those that disturbs bait fish and it disorients things. And bigger catfish are more easily able to maintain their position around those types of things. And so when something comes through and gets knocked around, it's an easy target for them.
That's it. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about stuff. And Matt, off of those points, off of those dikes, do you see a lot of areas that you have some of that type of situations? Or
yeah, I mean, you see that, but I think it's kind of highlighting the same area we were just talking about. And we've got the dikes that'll come off the bank on this side, and then they'll be blown out. They'll have a blowout in the center of it, so there'll be current coming through the middle of it. And the same thing. So, you'll have the hole off the end of the dike, and then you'll have a hole behind this washout, this blowout in the dike. And a lot of times those fish will sit right on the edges of that blowout where that current's coming through there, and where your little vortexes are coming through, and they'll sit on the edge. They might be in the current, they might be just outside of the current, but they're sitting there waiting for something to get pushed past them that they can jump out and snatch it. That's where a lot of our fish come from.
That's just situations I've learned on my river, going back to knowing your water. You don't hear people talking about stuff like this. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. We were sitting here talking, and I was like, well, let me maybe share a little bit and highlight people on what I'm doing, what I'm looking for, and that's just some things that people might go, well, that's just nothing really. They're paying no attention to that stuff. actually, I'm looking for stuff like this. I want to see some disturbances. I want to see what can maybe take the bait fish and move them around, jerk them around under there. You know, that's just stuff that you can find big catfish laying around, guys. And I'm gonna tell you, if you got stuff like that, fish it.
Leland wants to know, do you guys think that rattle size matters in different wind conditions? And that's funny because
I don't.
You don't. Me and Jamie just had this conversation today, and we've been smoking fish for the last month, a ton of fish, and we've had all different wind conditions. I run 5 different rigs. On a certain day, they want a certain rattle, and I'll tell you, I've been testing a rig for Jamie, and I'm not going to say the rig, but we've caught 320 fish on in that time frame, and we didn't catch a single fish off of that rig. And we're not going to put that rig out because they do prefer on any given day. They want something that's different. And I told Jamie, if I had all those rigs on, maybe we would catch those fish. I don't know, but I do know for certain that they're preferring these other rigs over that one, because out of 320 fish, you would think just by chance you would catch one on that. But I think they are attracted to the different rattles. And on a certain day, I'll catch every fish off a brute. On another day, I'll catch every fish off of that one that Jamie's got shaped like a missile. And, what's making them be attracted to that specific one that day? Hell, I have no idea. But I do know from having 4 or 5 different rigs on damn near every trip, they pick one of those, probably 8 or 9 to 1 over the other ones. So all I can say is I think, I'm running the same baits on the rigs. It's got to be the rattle. But it doesn't even have to be the loudest one. Guys, like, look how loud this is. Jamie's got some that are real cheap that they're like $1 a piece, man. And I've got days where those cheap ones outproduce the most expensive rattle I got. So I don't know why some days they don't want a real loud one.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you guys right now.
Really want that loud one, and I won't catch a single fish on any one of them besides that big loud one. So
I was tying up rigs the other day, and I was talking about this rig that I had caught all these fish on in the last 2 weeks. All these big fish, big flathead, 3 big blues, a 85-pound blue. Caught it. Dude, it's like a 20 pack for $16, little spook off of Amazon.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I don't know why. Now don't get me wrong, because I caught fish on, the little balls rattle with the peg float. I caught fish on, big demon dragon.
They really wanted that other one.
But they seem to really like that one, and it's unpainted. It's clear.
But over a year's time, I wouldn't say that they're going to pick that one most trips, because I've had way too many. It changes. Now, I'd like to say I know why. It's a windy day, they want this one. It's not. It's just a certain day they decide which one that they like. That's why I always rig. I give them a variety. And I told Jamie, I don't know if maybe I just ran all basic. Even if I didn't have a rattle, I'm sure I would still catch fish.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I do know that, I've got some of those peg floats that have a rattle in them. They won't catch a damn fish.
Really?
Not a single fish compared to all the other ones with a rattle that's actually making some rattling sound, because that peg float don't do. I mean, put one in your bathtub and try to make that thing make some sound. It won't. And so I know there's something to that sound. I wish I would say what it is,
I fought with the thought of that for a really long time, thinking, do these things catch catfish or do they catch catfishermen? And I feel like I have really put them to the test this year. And
I've been doing this for a long time. I would not be wasting my time, so much time rigging in the different ways if I didn't think it was a major advantage for me.
It for sure makes a difference. And you know what's really funny about this?
Anchor fishing in no current or light current, I don't know that they would, it's much of a difference. Peg float might be just fine.
And Chris, hitting up on that, we've touched up on something. I think we've got something that we'll hear in a little bit. We'll just go ahead and do that here in just a little bit. But we've touched up on something that is basically working with no current, no flow, with current, lots of flow. I think we've hit up on something we've been testing, Chris, almost a year now.
And Jamie, I've been testing it for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my rigs. And
that's it.
Not a secret.
Yeah.
So I know it works, or else I wouldn't be freaking doing it. I don't do things that I don't think work. And I know that thing works, and it's really worked the last 2 weeks. We've caught a ton of fish off of that.
So we've hit up on something, and me and Chris have been back and forth on this thing until it's got precise, and I think we've got it precise now. Chris, you got the proof in the pudding.
I'll explain a little bit because over the years I've found I use every cut of bait. I cut my big baits all different kinds of ways. The majority of the time, 9 trips out of 10, the best cut of bait will be the fillet. If you got a big fillet, that fluttering fillet puts out a little bit of what I'm going to go with why I think. I think it creates a little bit of flutter, a little bit of vibration over a chunk. And that little bit of vibration, I think catfish can sense that. If you got 10 of them out and you got 5 of them are fillets and the other ones are like head pieces and chunks, 9 trips out of 10, your fillets will smoke those freaking chunks. Now, if I used all chunks, would it make a difference? I don't know, but I know that fishing I've been using these fillets now for about 15 years. I know out of the last 15 years, it's a dramatic difference between a fillet and a chunk. So you can't always just run off fillets because you don't have really good big baits to do it. But I do know that fillet is something. So what we tried to figure out was, all right, they must be attracted to this, right? It's this. It's a little bit of vibration that fillet is doing. And what do the bass guys do to create a little bit of action? Jamie, what do the bass guys do on their lures?
Well, just like the Jesse James rig guys that we hit up on the Jesse James rigs with the spinners on them. We're sitting here, and Chris, we're talking about right here these bass guys, with the spinners.
Those have worked good, but I will say the other one that I've been running, I think it works better.
And that's where I was heading, Chris, on that exact same topic. Do you want to go ahead and do that now, Chris?
I don't have one with me, but I've got the rig, but
I've got them right here, and guys, here it is. Chris, you good? Ready to roll with it?
Yeah, man, throw it out there. I mean, let's get
there. It is, guys.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. Skirts.
There you go.
Yeah, that skirt right there will provide what a fluttering fillet does, even if you just got a head on there. So what I've been doing is on the days I don't have enough to make all fillets, if I got a headpiece, I put it on that rig where I know it's got a little bit of this. And, I don't think that fish is attracted to the sight of that. I think it produces a small amount of vibration like a fillet. And I believe that's what's why they're attracted to it. And, we've been smoking a ton of big fish. They've been smashing those rigs right there.
And guys, and the reason why we're going ahead, these are now on the website. We're dropping a soft, I believe I've only got 16 of these on the website. These are going to be brand new to Carolina lake weights. starting tonight, you'll be able to get these from us. We've talked about it. We've snuck it in. We kind of hinted about it, but now you can catch.
We've shown them on the show before, and I'm starting to see a lot of guys using them and saying that they're freaking smoking them on that deal.
Yeah.
So, guys, the way I use them, I use those when I don't have a fillet to put it on. So I'll use that on a headpiece, and I'll tell you, it starts making that headpiece just as productive as that fluttering fillet that's over. Fillet's doing this as it's coming through the water, and that's what that will do for your little headpiece. So, I think
we rigged it up with
the bit of vibration. I can only imagine what it would do in a river for current. I would think it would work for flatheads. I don't see why it wouldn't. I know that catfish are attracted to vibration because I've got enough tournament bass guys who tell me they're catching all these freaking big catfish off bass lures with no bait on them. So what are they attracted to? It's got to be that skirt or that blade.
And guys, I can tell you, we didn't put it out right away because, like we said, man, we snuck in some videos and we've got proof of them. And
I had enough guys ask me, "What's that thing you're hiding over there?"
and guys, I can tell you, I got pictures. These things will work salt water. I mean, I got people that
a lot of guys hammering on that. They're like, man, I tried that deal y'all talking about out on the salt. Man, we're hammering redfish. They're hammering all these different fish off of
drum. I mean, everything. So they're working in all the waters, guys. But yeah, you can. There's only 16 of them.
Leland said he smoked the bull reds last week on a skirted leaders.
Yep. There you go.
All rattles at the San Luis Pass. There you go.
So they're on the website, guys. They will be the brand new rig for Carolina Lake Weights. Chris, I'm gonna let you throw the name of them out there.
All right. Well, we came up with the name today. So the Big Kitty Teaser.
There you go, guys.
It's a game changer, boys.
Matt, what you think, brother?
I love it. Like I'm all about trying a bunch of weird stuff like that. The funny thing, before all these rattles and stuff came out, years and years and years ago, I'm talking like 20 years ago. I don't know, you guys ever seen, they used to make those little bitty glass deals with like a Christmas tree, like that little glass beads in it, and you get this little rubber deal that you can put on the shank of a jig hook is what it was for.
Yep.
Dude, I was wrecking flathead with them things like 20 years ago before anybody even thought about putting a rattle on a catfish rig. I started using it because I keep seeing a lot of guys who were catching big flatheads running crankbaits for smallmouth bass and stuff. And so I was like, well, man, or there's one guy who, I don't know if you guys know who Keith Severns is, but the dude absolutely just tears flathead up on artificial baits, just big fish too, and just consistently, year after year after year, the guy puts dozens of big flathead, on jigs and swim baits. And it was one of them things I was like, man, this guy catches these on these and he likes the rattles, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. So I started putting those little glass bead rattles on the leader of my hooks, and easily 2 to 1. Easily 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Maybe better.
Dramatic from the get-go, because I'm like you, I like to test. I was like, I'm gonna put it on this side of the boat. I'm gonna put rattles on this side. I'm not. Hell, it was a point where I wasn't even catching fish on the side with no rattles. And even after that, my buddies were like, man, I just can't see spending money on the. Can I bring my rods and put them on my side of the boat? And I was like, you ain't gonna catch a damn fish. You're just gonna be mad all day. I'm gonna be hammering fish. And sure enough, my buddies are like, man, I'm going to have to go get me some rattles. And Justin Cox says him and Tommy were on Texoma fishing glass conditions. At first time he tried a demon dragon, and he got 11 to Tommy's 0. And I would say that's fairly typical, but certain days I believe they'll hit anything, but on certain days it's a world of difference. Because catfish, they've found their number one sense is vibration. It's not sight, it's not sound, it's vibration. They sense it through their air bladder. They've got millions of sensory nerves that can feel vibration in that air bladder, and it magnifies it, and that's why they're attracted when they hear bait fishing being predated, when they hear a splash in the water, when they hear a bang on the boat. That's what's getting them turned on. It's the vibration. So that's what Jamie is holding in his hand. It's not a major vibration. It's just a little bit, but they don't need much to get.
You guys think it could be sight too?
Definitely sight. They use everything.
Yeah.
They use everything, but they've said that their number one sense is vibration. So they can sense vibration more than anything. And then I think as they get close, they probably use sight and smell, because a lot of times they'll come up and just kind of bump it. And I think they're smelling it when they do that. And when they're looking at it as they're getting close. So they're using everything. It's not like you can see real far in a muddy lake, though. So, I mean, it's when they're getting close to the strike zone is when they use sight. And I think they're using smell to decide at the very last minute whether they're going to suck that thing down.
And Chris, I wanted to hit up on something before I didn't hit on a while ago. Guys, like I said, these are on the website. Each color you see right here, we've caught fish off of every color. You're going to be able to pick right now just with every one of them colors we've caught fish off of. You're going to be able to pick from this rattle right now, or you're going to be able to pick the redhead rattle right here.
Yeah, we talked about it. I don't know if color makes a difference.
Yeah,
Catfish. I think to me it's vibration. I've caught them on every color rattle, and I don't know that I know some guys say flatheads they like that pumpkin seed one or the red one or whatever. They've got a favorite. I don't know if that's true with blue cats, because I get a lot of rattles sent to me for free, but and I get all just the loose packages, so I get every color. Yeah. They all catch fish.
And I will tell you guys, when you go to the website and you buy these, you're going to get surprised. You're not going to be able to pick which color right now, which color skirt you're going to get. It's going to be a surprise when you get them, but you'll be able to pick from either the redhead rattle or the other rattle right now. So
I think it's whatever is the vibration is. The rattles provides some sound and a little vibration. That's going to do the same. That's what gets their attention, and then they see the bait. If you've got the right bait attached to whatever, it's like the little dinner call, it's one little extra thing that might attract a fish that might be a little further off. And he's like, I'm going to go check that out. Cause I just got it. It's like a cat with something dangling in front of it. I'm just going to go knock it around. And
they've all asked about it. Now it's here, guys.
I want for anything that I feel like is going to give me a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
I think it's going to catch me a few extra fish. Hell, I'm going to try it.
And that's just like
when we release them on the river.
We've tried out like this right here. This is the 2.0 one right here with the big blade.
That thing took off like a rocket because it was instant. We were catching big fish, and they were liking that. I realize, guys, it's not doing this like a bass lure, but they don't have to do a whole lot in water for it to put out a little bit of vibration, and we've caught a lot of giants off of that spinner.
And Matt, like I said, we have been like crazy on the river with these guys. Rebecca's catching flatheads with them. We're catching tons of blues with them. I'm
I can
actually
tell
going
you
to
they
be,
work because I've used them for the last 5 years.
yeah,
So
and
I
and
kept
and
it
I'm
a secret because I felt like I had a little bit of an edge. Nobody else was using it, but I told Jamie, hell with it. I don't tournament fish. What do
and
I
that's
care? I
but
hope to help some guys catch some big fish.
and that's what we wanted, man. We wanted this show to be for people to learn things, and we're not here to try to sell you a rig. We're here to try to let you know what's working for us. And a lot of people might say, "Man, that's crazy." Well, some people, we got proof, we got videos. We like we say, we don't put nothing out that we don't catch fish off of. So, guys,
I've
there
caught
it
a
is.
bunch off of that.
The
And in
secret's
the last
out
2
even
weeks,
more.
I really like that rig. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a couple of those to try.
Yeah, there's only 16 of them for tonight, guys. So I'll have some more up by the weekend, but there's only 16 of them right now on the site. So y'all have asked us, and we've let it out a little bit, and now there they are, guys.
yeah, I was kind of showing that, and Jamie would text me. He's like, because I'm like, man, if I start showing some of my secrets, let me know. And because I would try to hide it. He was like, man, you're showing them.
You're doing it, Chris.
I don't care. I'm happy. I'm happy if guys are if it's helping guys. So
Yep.
I love it, man. I don't have any secrets. I'm not that good. I just every once in a while I get lucky and catch a few fish. That's all it is, man. I
You
go
know,
a lot.
you put
I
in
go
Matt,
a
what
lot.
I
you
love,
put in the work. So
what I love is everything you see. I do a lot of tournament fishing. I fish against a lot of my rigs a lot in some tournaments. I love that. I love
Mhm.
going against some of the stuff that we've built here at Carolina Lake Weights. It's like, well, they've got the secret here, so here we go.
That's
So,
great.
and we see the trend even with the blades. We see the trend starting to catch on.
I've seen a lot of other guys starting to
Yeah,
use that blade.
and just like the skirts now, you're going to see that trend start more and more because people, they trust in what we're telling them, because we show them. Chris is, just slaying them with these rigs, and we're over here. The other night we caught 14 within what was it, less than 2 hours the other night. Little man on the boat says, "I give up." Rebecca jumps in and says, "Okay, I'm gonna start pulling them in." By 3 hours, we were like, okay, we're done fishing. Let's just go home. They work, guys. They really do. So
I'm ready. Y'all got me fired up to fish. Where are you guys fishing this weekend?
Chris, I'm actually out for a while because we're trying to get ready for show season.
You got a
And
seal job to do too on your trim.
I still got to put the seals. The seals aren't be here anytime for the trim thing, but it's probably going to be February, probably March before I get to go back. Maybe.
Oh man, that ain't even.
Yeah.
That's
Because
just
and
time,
yeah,
bro.
we're going to make the announcement. I don't know. We made the announcement already on TikTok where our first show is going to be. We're going to put it out Friday, guys. So stick around for the first show of the season. All I can say is we're heading north, guys. We're heading north.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad y'all are staying busy. Matt, where are you fishing this weekend?
Dude, I'm driving to Texas to come fish with you.
Come
See if I
on,
can learn how to do this.
Hey,
Man.
the price of fuel, you might just want to jump in a plane. Probably be cheaper.
Man,
I'll
it probably
pick you up
would.
at the airport, bro.
Man, I'd love to do that. No, I'll probably be back out on the river again this weekend. I'll probably hit a different stretch. I wouldn't stretch I fished it today was kind of a new stretch to me. I'd never been on it before. It's about 20 miles down from anywhere I've ever fished, and I don't know. I like my familiar area.
Yeah, but we're
Definitely.
getting into that time of year where it's just insane good fishing.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. I might hit the lake. I went out and just drug the lake for a little bit the other day, but I expected it to be garbage, and I just wanted to go out for a couple of hours and play
Yeah.
with this fancy new camera. And I didn't really expect to catch fish, but I would like to go. We've got not very far from here. We've got a couple of power plants that water stays fairly warm.
Yeah.
And man, they can be a really good place to go and just like when the other lakes are frozen, like you can go here and
That's nice. You got somewhere to go when it's frozen over.
just put I mean, sometimes you can go out there and just put a whooping on fish. And a couple of them, they both have historically produced. One of them gets hit real hard by limb liners. Terrible.
Oh yeah,
that's
they need to outlaw that crap.
And dude, it's about this big. It's a teeny tiny, like 4,000 acre lake
here, man. We get hammered joggers.
But this is a 4,000 acre lake. Like it's small. And I mean, guys that go out there and they'll put 5 guys in a cabin and they'll run 25 hooks a piece for 5 nights in a row. And man, they just decimated that lake.
That's not even right, man. That's not even right.
Tiny little lake, and it used to produce on a pretty regular basis, 70s, 80s, big fish. Big flatheads too. Big flatheads, 70, 80 pound flatheads too. And man, I haven't heard of a big fish coming out of that lake in years.
Yeah, some of our best lake got destroyed in the last 5-6 years. Sad deal when these meat haulers move in. Social media, they see that stuff on social media, they go clean it out.
Yeah.
Eagle Eyes says he's at Lake Arrowhead 2-day tournament this weekend. It's got him fired up with the show.
Hey,
Dan says good.
Dan says there ain't but 12 of them left now. So guys, Dan says he's
on Lake Conroe, Southeast Texas Catfish Trail Championship Tournament, baby.
Good deal,
Lewis. What the water temps should be cooling down. I bet y'all are going to do well finally down there. I know Southeast Texas, it's been warm, but y'all should be getting into better water temps. So Dan Weldon says Levon is calling his name, but he's got grandkids and rodeo duties. I get you, bro. My son's got his buddy's birthday party Saturday, and he's got his 9th birthday party Sunday. So I'm going Friday with Leland Lloyd. We're going to do an Operation Vets with Nets trip. We got 5 mile an hour south wind. It's going to be iffy. So I'm hoping the weatherman got it wrong in our favor. Mike McClung says he's putting the finishing touches on his engine. He's been without boat for about almost a month, I think. He'll be back on the water next week. All right. Mike is the king of Lake Worth. The dude slays them on that lake. My longtime fishing buddy. King's Catfishing says, hey, y'all. Tim, you're late to the party, bro. Chris Garcia, I was on Levon last week. I saw the question earlier. I was on Levon last weekend. We smoked them, dude. Texoma has a tournament, he says. Yeah, Texoma was not nice to me in October. It's usually pretty good to me up there that month. But Southern Stream says, man, I've been seeing some fish, but I've been getting my butt kicked on Ray Roberts. Ray Roberts is can be a difficult lake. It's got a lot of mid-sized blues. I've done real well on that lake, but it's not an easy lake to fish. Tim King says he can't get a fish over 40 this week. Cold front have them shut down. Yep, that'll do it. I believe if anybody can do it, you can, Tim. Lewis said 65 water tips yesterday. Well, I always say 65 much better than 75. So you're getting there, buddy. You're getting close. Fish are feeding. They're just not grouped up well in 65. So at least they're feeding. If you can find the fish, you can usually catch some good ones.
Yep.
Chris, I'm going to Levon Friday. We don't have good wind, but I still expect to do well because that's just how I roll. 25 to
God,
35
make it happen.
mile-an-hour wind. King's Catfish, says Tim King. Well, Tim, that can be difficult when your lines are blowing out 30 yards and planer boards are blowing into each other. Nathan Lork says he's going to Ray Roberts or Levon on Friday. Not sure which one yet. I see Ray Roberts is turning on. I don't know what's going to happen on Levon. I expect to have to go looking. But I expect to do well. I'm going to go find them wherever they're at.
Well, gentlemen, I do have to pop off of here. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was a good time.
Anytime you're ready to come back, holler at me and let me know. It's
Absolutely.
been good.
Matt, appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
You too, brother.
Soon.
See you guys.
Jay Green says, anyone here fishing Hubbard Creek in Texas? Good luck to me. Still need to find one over 40 there, though. Winter right now around 55-degree water. Do you fish want to go deep or shallow? I'm fishing deep. My buddies, Chris, that are on Texoma are fishing in 70 feet. And they're doing well. And that's where I would be. And you can still catch them shallow, but, cold fronts push the majority of fish deep. They don't all fish the same depth, but my buddies have been out in 65, 70 feet smoking them up there. Daniel's in 65, 70. That's where I'd be. I'd be on the deep river channels.
Yep.
Where I'm fishing, I'm going to be in, that lake's different. So just a different lake. Striper lakes are always a little different. Juan says Hubbard Creek's a great lake. You won his classic on there last December.
Heck yeah. Well, Chris, how do you feel that the secret's finally out? Everybody can.
I'm fine with it. I'm good with it. I hope some guys catch their PBs and then they're going to say, hey, we caught our PB on it. That's what I'm hoping to hear. Or we smoked them on that rig. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. I know we've got a lot of great feedback on the rigs we've put out.
Yeah, guys, for sure. Like I said, we dropped only 16 of these tonight. I know already there's 12 left right now. I think that's all that's left from what we were just told. If you haven't grabbed them, grab them.
Less already.
Yeah. So
Chris Garcia says, how do you set up your drift socks? So I use a Y harness on mine. So it's a Y harness that goes behind the motor.
Yeah.
Put one sock straight out the back. I prefer mine that way. A lot of guys will use 2 socks, one on each corner. I prefer one because, a term that y'all will hear me often use is chaos catfishing on the boat. And when that's happening, having 2 socks out is not cool when you're catching giants. Giants like to move around the back end of that boat like this. And if you got 2 socks out, it's not good, man. You'll break off some of your best fish like that. So 278s, that's what you're going to need, Chris. If you're running a pontoon, you're going to need at a very minimum 278s. On a windy day, and if it's really windy, you're going to probably want a 10-foot Easterland. So that's a sock that was specifically made for pontoons out of South Carolina. It's called an Easterland. It's a 10-foot sock. Jamie's got one. I got one. I use it when I'm in 30-mile-an-hour wind. It'd probably be what you would use in 20-mile-an-hour wind.
And the way I used to do it on the pontoon boat is I used to turn mine pretty much sideways. On days that it wasn't rough, I would have 2 on one end of the pontoon, one on the other end. On days where I could turn it sideways, days where it was rough, I would basically use 1 sock, like Chris was talking about, off the front of the pontoon because I had my rod holders on the front of the pontoon and drift it backwards.
Yeah.
And it worked real well.
Dominic Hollis, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? We're about done, man. You're late to the party. Yeah,
man,
with
I
one
tell you,
stock, it's just less stuff to get tangled on. If you're really on big fish, like you wouldn't have wanted my last 2 trips, you did not want 2 socks out. There were several big fish we would have lost, most likely in the socks, because they get in those socks and they'll cut themselves off. So 1 sock's a little more easy to maneuver around than 2. You can kind of steer them to one side of the boat or the other. But if you got 2 socks on each corner, you're dealing with a lot more problems.
That's it.
Dominic says he's tired, old, crippled, and crazy. Justin says he'll be at Texoma Friday and Saturday. Go deep, baby. Go big or go home. Look at what Jamie's holding.
The fish catching rigs, guys. The fish catching rigs.
Yeah, Chris. So you're going to use your trolling motor to keep it straight. Ideally, when you throw everything, you throw down. You're hoping that the thing steers right. I use if you're drifting out the side, you can't use the motor to help guide you a little bit, but if you're fishing out the back like I do, the trolling motor, you can use it to, point you in whichever direction you need to correct. So you can also use that trolling motor to speed you up a little bit. You can point it backwards to help slow you down a little bit because drift speed is paramount.
Yeah.
And 0.1 mile an hour can make a world of difference. If you're going 0.5, sometimes the fish want it at 0.6, 0.5, you won't catch it. You would think just 0.1 mile an hour doesn't make a difference. It makes a world of difference when dragging. So, having that trolling motor fishing out the back with the trolling motor in the front, you can speed up a little bit or you can point it backwards and you can slow down a little bit. And that's the way I use it. To optimize the speed for your best presentation. Fishing out the back. Well, there you go. So fishing out the back, a general speed to start is 0.5. Some days they want it a little bit slower. Some days they want it a little bit faster. So if you're going 0.5, you're not doing well, speed it up or slow it down. If you start catching fish, you'll know.
Don't be afraid to use your speed control. Play with that thing because you'll learn real quick what speed they're really biting at. So don't get stale and just keep it at like a 0.5 because I can tell you that speed, like we were talking about earlier, really makes a difference.
Happy birthday, Vess, you old son of a gun. I bet you smoke him tomorrow.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, I had seen the weather. I watched the weather all week, and it said tomorrow was going to be crap. Friday was going to be good. And then here we are today. I looked again. It looks like tomorrow's going to be the good day to fish, and Friday's going to be crap. So I'm going anyway. We may be floating around like idiots. So, well, anything else you want to touch on, Jamie?
Brother, that's pretty much it, man. I just want to say another great show. A lot of good information, that we touched on tonight. And this time of the year, we're going to start touching on a lot of good stuff and, talk about things that we're going to basically what's working this time of year. So y'all guys stick around, on Wednesday nights. We got a lot of cool things happening here. That's for sure on the Slime Show. And you guys get to see the release of the brand new rig tonight. Y'all guys we've been hitting around, so y'all guys get to see it right here on the Slime Show tonight. So, guys, like I said, Carolina Lake Weights will be carrying these full time now. And Chris, myself, Chris has 5 years now been just tearing the fish up off of these. I've been using these myself for a long time. So, guys, they work. Chris can show you. We can show you that.
Yeah, we've been showing a lot, and guys have been paying attention, seeing it.
Yep.
And then I'll tell them when they see it. But it's been catching on. So
yep.
Jamie said, "Man, it's time we release that thing." So Jamie went ahead and released it. So
yep.
That's
so there you go, guys.
The big key teaser rig from Carolina Lake. Chris Garcia says, "What do you look for when?" Before we go, we'll touch on one last thing. Chris says, "What do you look for in weather to know if it's shit or not?" So, Chris, the best days, it's going to be a consistent weather pattern. If you've had tomorrow is a north wind day. Well, you had north wind today, so tomorrow's north wind. It's going to be pretty good. And then we got a big wind. We got a wind change coming Friday. But it's not going to be great wind. When I say great wind, good wind for blue catting is about 10 mile an hour to 20 mile an hour. That's the optimum wind speed for catching blue cats. You can still do really well over 20, but it's just more difficult to fish. And you can still do well under 20. It's just not as guaranteed. But when you have a wind change, it changes the pattern. So that doesn't mean that Friday won't be good. I just think it might take a little we got a wind change at sun up on Friday. I believe the bite will start a little bit later. And, typically speaking, when you're talking about blue cat fishing, consistent weather is going to be your best days of fishing. So if you've had, I don't care what weather direction it's been, if it's been the same direction for 2 or 3 days in a row, it's generally going to be good. If you got variable winds, wind changes happening, that's going to have a negative effect on your fishing. If you've got a big front that's hitting the day you're fishing, probably not going to be great. The day after the front, post front, no wind, high pressure, bluebird sky, not a great day to fish. Doesn't mean I'm going to stay home because I've had plenty of days where I've caught fish on poor condition days, but I'd rather be floating around on the lake like an idiot than sitting at home doing chores. So
me and you both, brother.
So anything else, you guys holler at me. We'll be on the water Friday, hopefully smoking some giants. Guys, hopefully y'all get on some too this weekend. And hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. And it's time for the holiday season. It's good eating, spending time with family, catching big fish. Anybody needs anything from me, just holler. Jamie?
Chris, I want to say one more thing before we go, guys. Thank y'all so much from myself, Rebecca, all of us here at Carolina Lake Weights for another successful Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Y'all guys, it's going to take us a couple weeks to catch back up from all the sales, but thank y'all guys so much. We really love you guys, your family to us, and we appreciate you. And we hope you enjoy everything.
I'm enjoying it. Guys, tight lines. God bless. Azul
Later,
out. Jamie.